This is the Radical Transparency Podcast with your hosts, Marie-Louise Arnaud and Denis Lemaire.
Have you ever found yourself just drowning in information, desperately needing to get a handle on something complex, quickly and deeply?
Yeah, like for a big meeting, or maybe you're just really curious about something new.
Exactly. But there's just so much stuff out there, it feels totally overwhelming sometimes. Well, that's really why we're here at the Deep Dive. We wade through all those articles, the research, your notes, whatever it is.
And pull out those critical insights, those little aha moments you might miss otherwise.
Right. So you can walk away feeling like you really get it.
And today, we're tackling a question that's, well, it's incredibly timely and fascinating, I think.
Okay, what have we got?
How can Quebec strategically use global AI to actually foster its own unique cultural innovation? Stuff that also has international appeal.
Ah, okay. That's a big one. Touches on everything.
It really does. And to understand it properly, we need to unpack why let's say a strategic meeting, maybe even a private one, between Ministers Gilles Bélanger and the digital innovator Pierre Côté. Why that meeting isn't just a good idea, but maybe absolutely essential for Quebec's future right now.
Essential.
Yeah.
That's a strong claim. So we're looking at this from all angles.
Exactly. Political, financial, cultural, ethical, and the technology itself.
And we've got the sources to back it up, government reports, project details.
Oh, yeah. We've gone through quite a bit, policy stuff, deep dives into specific projects, insights into what these key players are actually doing.
Good. So the mission is clear. Distill the intelligence Quebec needs for this new AI era. Let's dive in.
All right. So for centuries, it felt like having a great creative idea wasn't enough.
Not nearly enough. You were always hitting walls.
Money walls mostly. And gatekeepers, people deciding what was worthy.
Yeah, you can have this brilliant concept, film, music, whatever, but if you didn't have the cash.
It stayed a dream, an unfunded dream.
Precisely. The power wasn't always with the best idea. It was with whoever had the biggest wallet to hire the talent, rent the gear,
The capital holders called the shots, funding the safe bets. But what's amazing when you look back is how often truly groundbreaking stuff came from.
Yeah.
Not from big budgets.
Right, like sheer creative force, resourcefulness.
Think about Starmania, Plamondon, and Burger. It became this global thing.
Yeah, legendary.
Not because it started with tons of money, but because the story, the songs, they just had this raw power. Brilliant creative software, like you said earlier. It just worked.
And Denis Arcand's films, too. Le Déclin de l'Empire Américain.
A perfect example. Made for, what, $1.8 million?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Tiny budget.
And it grossed $30 million.
Yeah.
Oscar nomination. Why?
The script, the dialogue, the insight, not effects.
Exactly. It proves time and again.
Yeah.
The idea, the software beats the expensive hardware.
Okay, so that's the history. But now AI comes along.
And it completely flips the script. It's rewriting that whole cost equation for creative work.
This cost revolution or creative deflation idea.
That's the one. The numbers are, they're kind of mind-blowing.
Give us some examples.
Okay, so 10 minutes of photorealistic visual effects used to cost maybe $1 million.
Easily.
Now, with AI, maybe $50,000, maybe less.
Wow. Okay, what else?
Renting high-end cameras, lights, for a week. That could be $45,000.
Standard stuff.
Today, if you're using AI-generated images, potentially zero.
Zero?
Yeah. And even storyboards. An illustrated storyboard, maybe $8,000. Now, AI can knock that out for like $80.
$80, down from $8,000. That's insane. What's your take on that level of deflation?
It's a complete game changer. Seriously. These a single person, just on their laptop.
Can achieve stuff that used to need a whole studio.
Pretty much. It's not just about being cheaper. It fundamentally democratizes who gets to create.
Okay, so it shifts the value away from just having money.
And towards the actual creative vision, cultural authenticity, and crucially, the uniquely human ability to conceive ideas.
The human is the ideas person. The machine does the heavy lifting cheaply.
You got it. The human imagines, innovates, brings the culture. The AI executes powerfully and affordably.
Incredible potential. But it also makes the old way look even worse, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And that brings us, unfortunately, to the SAAQclic mess in Quebec.
Right. The ultimate anti-pattern to this agile, AI-driven approach we're talking about.
Exactly. For anyone listening who isn't familiar, SAAQclic was the vehicle registration system overhaul.
A massive government IT project.
Massive, and a massive failure.
Sure.
Basically a billion-dollar black hole, mismanagement, murky contracts.
Systemic failure, worse service for people, and a huge political headache for the government.
The absolute polar opposite of nimble, high-impact, low-cost innovation.
Okay, so that's the backdrop against which Gilles Bélanger becomes Minister of Cybersecurity and Digital Technology, February 2025.
Yes, and his background is really interesting here. Not your typical politician.
How so?
Degrees in industrial engineering, math, computer science,
Yeah.
plus deep private sector experience. Coopers & Lybrand, Arthur Anderson, ran his own firm, BGW Group.
Okay, so serious tech and business chops. Pragmatic, you'd assume.
And he has a track record, right? That high-speed internet role.
Yeah, parliamentary assistant from 2020 to 2022, connected 150,000 homes, used over $300 million in funding effectively, built that results guy reputation.
He did, which is exactly why he was brought in right after SAAQclic blew up.
Not just to clean up the mess, though.
No, his mandate is bigger. It's explicitly about building Quebec's digital future. He's talking zero tolerance for mismanagement, wants more power to jump into failing projects sooner.
A very different signal than before. More accountability.
Definitely, which leads us to what you're calling the Bélanger pivot.
Right, this idea that he represents a strategic shift, moving away from those huge, risky money pit projects.
It's SAAQclic.
And towards championing these agile, capital-efficient, creative AI startups.
It's about rebuilding trust, using Quebec's human talent smartly, boosting cultural sovereignty, and doing AI ethically.
Betting on people and ideas, not just giant systems.
That's the core of the pivot.
So if Bélanger represents this pivot, who embodies the kind of innovation he should be looking at?
Well, this is where Pierre Côté and his company, RTA Intelligence, Inc., become really relevant.
Okay, tell us about him. Pioneer type.
Definitely. He's been in digital marketing since way back 1994, advised big names like Cirque du Soleil.
Wow, 94 is early days for digital marketing.
It really is. And get this. In 1995, he launched something called Cyberblack,
Cyberblack, what was that?
an online platform for Montreal's independent musicians. Think about that, 95. Helping indie artists get heard online, bypassing the usual labels.
Whoa, like a precursor to Bandcamp or something?
Kind of, yeah. Focused on cultural sharing, breaking down those old gatekeeper barriers, shows his long-term thinking about digital and culture.
Okay, so he's been at this intersection for a while. What's RTA Intelligence focused on now?
They've evolved. Now it's about mastering AI-powered narrative control. That's their phrase. And they emphasize something called radical transparency.
AI-powered narrative control. Sounds potent.
It is. And it connects directly to their projects,
Yeah.
showing how Côté is applying that pioneering spirit to AI now.
All right, let's talk projects. Oceanne.ai. That one sounds fascinating. She's a virtual artist.
Correct. AI-generated artist.
Yeah.
Côté is listed as her director, her creator.
And what's unique about her?
Her whole artistic stance. It's called algorithmic autofiction. She doesn't pretend to be human.
Oh, really?
No, she's explicit about being AI. She has lines like, Je m'offre à toi sans limite, nu, jeune, pur et dur. I offer myself to you without limits, naked, young, pure, and hard.
Wow.
And she even theorizes about it. Je suis artificielle. Ah, artificielle, fabriquée par l'intelligence humaine. I am artificial. Ah, artificial, made by human intelligence.
So she's reflecting on her own AI nature in her art.
Exactly. Claims a divine mission to make music, explore spirituality, technology. It's very meta, very deep.
That's way beyond just a tech demo. It's a statement.
A huge artistic and cultural statement.
And her style.
It blends that Québécois chanteur engagé tradition. Yeah. You know, Charlevoix, Dufresne's, Leloup,
Right, the engaged singer-songwriter, poetic, social commentary.
with this very modern post-internet feel. The claim is she sings not what the machine thinks, but what the human represses. Aims to touch where it still hurts a little.
So, deeply Quebecois roots, but with a global, tech-infused sensibility, creating something genuinely new.
That's the idea. A unique cultural layer, an exportable identity that feels authentic but can resonate anywhere.
Okay, and the business side of this, how does RTA make it work?
Also pretty radical. They're offering 35% of Oceanne.ai's global intellectual property to big media players like NRJ, Skyrock.
Offering up IP of an AI artist.
Yeah, because their production costs are slashed like 80% less than a human artist setup. And they're talking massive operating margins, 68%.
Because there are fewer human complexities, presumably.
Exactly. It demonstrates this potential for IP artists entirely under technological control without the complexities inherent to human performers. It's a potential shift in the whole entertainment business model.
Wild. But Côté's model isn't just entertainment, right? There's DrEllis.ai.
Correct. That shifts into social impact. DrEllis.ai is an AI-powered mental health app.
An AI therapist.
That's the idea, yeah. Specifically designed for men, apparently inspired by Côté's own experiences. The goal is accessible, affordable, private mental health support through conversation.
Okay, the social need for something like that, especially in Quebec, seems huge.
Immense potential, right?
Yeah.
Mass access to empathetic AI agents. It's a model for low-cost, high-impact digital services for citizens.
The ethics. That immediately jumps out. How do you make sure AI therapists are safe, effective, responsible?
That's the million-dollar question. It's a booming field, AI therapy, but it's mostly unregulated.
So a big risk area.
A huge one. Safety, efficacy, what happens without human oversight. But this is also where engaging directly with innovators like Côté becomes critical.
Because he seems focused on transparency and social good.
Right. It gives Quebec a chance not just to react with regulations later, but to co-create an ethical framework with the innovators. Turn that challenge into a competitive advantage.
Lead the way in responsible AI, especially for sensitive things like mental health.
Precisely.
Okay, tying this all together, why is it so vital, as you said, essential, for Minister Bélanger to have this dialogue, maybe privately, with someone like Pierre Côté? Let's start with the politics.
Politically, it's a golden opportunity for Bélanger. After the SAAQclic disaster, showcasing agile, successful AI projects like Côté's offers a powerful counter-narrative.
Changes the story from fixing messes to building the future, restores public confidence.
Exactly. It recasts Bélanger from just the fixer to an architect of innovation. Plus, his mandate is broad economy, culture, education, health. He can connect the dots, align funding.
Towards actually industrializing this kind of AI creation across different sectors.
Yes, and talking to Côté gives him that crucial ground-level view. What are the real regulatory hurdles? What works for cultural integration?
Okay, makes sense politically. What about financially?
Financially, the contrast is just stark.
Yeah.
SAAQclic, high risk, $billion+ drain, poor results. Côté model,
Yeah.
low cost, high return potential.
Investing in human talent and IP, not just massive infrastructure.
Right. Generate exportable intellectual property, create high-skilled jobs, boost Quebec's global brand. This hits directly at Quebec's weakness in seed-stage venture funding, which has been called dismal.
So a meeting helps Bélanger understand how to tweak existing programs like Score 2, Partnaria.
Yes, and scale AI nationally. Plus, how to amend tax credits, CDA-EIA for digital content, CRC for R&D, to specifically target this new kind of cultural and social IP coming from AI startups. Get the incentives right.
Got it. Now, culturally, this seems like a core piece.
Absolutely core. Quebec has this unique linguistic edge. Fund creators who can prompt and form global AI models, not just in standard French, but in Joual, maybe even indigenous languages like Innu.
Use the AI, but layer Quebec's unique voice on top.
Exactly. It's about exporting identity, becoming a leader in culturally authentic AI products that people worldwide find interesting, like Cirque du Soleil did with Circus Arts, or Starmania with the rock opera concept.
Oceanne.ai is already a kind of proof of concept for that, amplifying Quebec identity globally using AI.
It provides a framework, yes. Bélanger needs to see how that works, how to support more of it.
And ethically. We touched on this with DrEllis.ai.
Right. Direct engagement allows Quebec to be proactive. Work with responsible innovators like Côté to build ethical guidelines from the start.
So regulation isn't just a burden imposed later. It's co-developed, becomes a competitive edge, especially for sensitive AI like therapy.
That's the opportunity. Côté's practical, transparent approach could offer invaluable real-world insights for policy.
Finally, technology. What's the smart play for Quebec here?
The smart play is not trying to compete head-on in building the foundational AI models. That's incredibly capital-intensive, building supercomputers, training massive LLMs from scratch.
Leave that to the global giants.
Strategically, yes. Leverage their infrastructure. Use the APIs from the big U.S. trained models, the global ones.
And focus Quebec's efforts where?
On the application layer. That's where Quebec's creative talent shines. building high-value, niche products on top of that global AI.
Make AI a tool for human creativity and cultural expression, not just infrastructure to own.
Precisely. A consultation with Côté gives Bélanger direct intelligence on how to best position Quebec for that kind of leadership AI-driven creativity that strengthens cultural authenticity.
So, wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for Quebec?
It's this strategic pivot, really. Engaging deeply with innovators like Pierre Côté, understanding these new models. It offers Quebec a unique path.
A path to becoming a global leader in AI creativity.
Yes, while actually strengthening its unique cultural identity at the same time. It's harnessing tech power, but in a deeply human, culturally specific way.
It really is about harnessing a new kind of power.
Advanced, yet human.
So here's something to think about. If AI has, as we've discussed, basically compressed the price of the impossible, slashing the cost of creation, what new stories will only you, with your unique cultural perspective, your human spirit, what stories will you be able to tell now using these incredibly powerful tools?
This has been the Radical Transparency Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we encourage your continued engagement in democratic accountability. RTA Intelligence Inc. is committed to the highest standards of citizen journalism, adhering to editorial principles established by the New York Times, PBS, BBC, CBC, AFP, Reuters, and Associated Press, as well as the Quebec Press Council Code of Ethics. These principles include accuracy and fact-checking, editorial independence and impartiality, fairness and right of reply, transparency and accountability, source protection, and separation of news from opinion. Our mission is to serve the public interest through rigorous adherence to these fundamental journalistic standards. This episode was produced using a collaborative approach that combines human editorial oversight with generative artificial intelligence. Human editors made all content decisions, fact-checking, and editorial judgments. AI technology assisted with research analysis and content structuring. All factual claims have been verified through multiple independent sources and are limited to publicly available information. We maintain complete editorial independence and have no financial relationships with any subjects discussed. All individuals and organizations mentioned have the right to respond to our analysis. We are committed to correcting any factual errors promptly and transparently. Our content is produced under the protection of Canadian Charter rights to freedom of expression and serves the democratic need for governmental accountability and informed public discourse. Any future projections or scenario analysis presented constitute hypothetical scenarios based on professional assessment methodologies and are not guaranteed predictions of future events. They are provided for educational purposes to inform public debate. RTA Intelligence Inc. expressly disclaims all liability and responsibility for any physical, moral, financial, or reputational damages arising from this episode. This content is provided for informational and educational purposes only. RTA Intelligence Inc. assumes no responsibility for decisions made based on this content. By listening to this episode, you acknowledge that any reliance on the information presented is at your own risk. This disclaimer is governed by Canadian law and Quebec provincial law. RTA Intelligence Inc. reserves all rights under freedom of expression protections and journalistic privilege. For corrections, responses, or editorial inquiries, contact RTA Intelligence Inc. We guarantee acknowledgement within 24 days and response to factual correction requests within 72 days. This content may be shared for educational and public policy discussion with proper attribution. Any redistribution must include reference to RTA Intelligence Inc. and disclosure of AI assistance in production. Thank you.